Hello, Sisterhood. Thank you for joining us today. We are speaking with Nikita Williams, who's going to be sharing her autoimmune story and how she has been able to overcome her challenges and to share her tips with us for those who are going through this journey. All right, so welcome, Nikita.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on, April. This is fun for me.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. Definitely important. So feel free to please introduce yourself to us. Tell us who you are, what you do. Who are you?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, my name is Nikita, like you mentioned, and I have a business called Crafts to Thrive where I work with um, creative entrepreneurs, helping them map out their business through coaching. I specifically work with women who deal with chronic illnesses because I have one myself. I was diagnosed with endometriosis back in 2009 and fibromyalgia back in 2013. So for over a decade now, which is crazy to say, I've been trying to find my balance, and I think I have finally found my stride, if you could say. So I just love sharing my story.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to hear your story. So feel free now, if you could share with us the autoimmune journey, the chronic illness journey, what you went through, and tell us about the difficulties and the challenges that you faced.
Yeah, well, I love this question and I hate this question because it's like, you have to go back to a time where you're like feeling extremely vulnerable and scared and confused. And for me, my story kind of started before I even knew there was a story. Um, it's interesting. I didn't really understand that until 3 years ago that, kind of having all of these issues that I have actually started when I was a teenager and no one really knew what it was. And it wasn't ever even a thought that it was something that was chronic or was going to be a lifelong thing. I didn't even know. So to just kind of start from the beginning, when I was a teenager, I used to have really heavy cycles, like crazy. And they were painful, but that's kind of like, that's what they tell you. Oh, well, that's how it's supposed to be. It's normal, da 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 da. Mine was very irregular. So I started going to the doctor and they put me on the pill right away because it was messing up with my iron and my anemia and all that kind of stuff. And I was really exhausted all the time. So I didn't really think anything of it until I got married. And so that's really where I feel like my story kind of took a turn for crazy town. My After a month of us being married, I was in the hospital in and out for like we were in and out of the hospital like 3 times a month. I was in so much pain. And I would go and the doctors would tell me that it was in my head. I was not really experiencing that amount of pain. There was no way I could be experiencing what I was feeling. I was exaggerating. So for about a year of going to the doctor and being told that, that kind of messes with your brain. It messes with your self-confidence, your self-worth, and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, well, what is this? Because this can't just be made up. Like I can't be making this up. Like I'm not in my 20s. I was 22 and married. And I was like, there's no way that this is just because I got married all of the blue. And so finally I found a doctor that was like, well, let's continue to try these different things to see if they would help. So we tried diets and food and a whole bunch of blood tests. And it was really affecting my stomach. And which is weird because a lot of women get misdiagnosed with things like Crohn's disease or bowel disease, some kind of bowel disease when they have endometriosis because no doctor's taking you for real. So I was having a lot of stomach issues. So they took me to a stomach doctor, what do you call it? Gastroenterologist. I can never say that. Yeah. And I was going there for a year and they're like, we have tried every single test there is there. Other than IBS, we can't really tell you what's going on. We think it could be something to do with your cycle. And I'm like, okay, well, I've been telling people this for years, but they keep telling me it's in my head. So we went to another route. And so finally I found a doctor who in 2009 was the first time I ever heard the word endometriosis. Like after talking to this OBGYN, she's like, yeah, have you ever heard of it? And I was like, I've never even heard of this word. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it came from. I asked my family on my mom's side and my dad's side if anybody has even had it or heard of it, and no one had. And so, yeah. And so after the diagnosis, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, you have endometriosis because you have to have a surgery, you have to have a laparoscopy surgery in order to confirm that endometriosis is there, because you can't really see it on an MRI unless you have what they call chocolate cysts. And I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian cyst syndrome, which is just like your ovaries are producing too many hormones and then you're creating like cysts, like you have cysts on your ovaries. So you can see those type of cysts usually in an ultrasound, and they burst and they hurt like crazy. But endometriosis is different, where it adheres to different parts of the inside of your uterine wall, and it can travel. So it can get to your gallbladder, it can get to your kidneys. There have been some cases where it's been found in women's brains, which is crazy, because what happens is it swells. Like when you're having a cycle, it acts just like the endometrial lining in your uterus. It swells and then it releases the blood. So blood is an irritant, it's an inflammation. So it causes a lot of pain, and there's no cure to this day. There are lots of pain management that can help. There are a lot of things out there that make it worse, even though they say they make it better. And so in order to find something that works for you, you have to go through all of that. And I've gone through all of it. I've gone through all of it. I've had not even last year, 2017, I had a hysterectomy. And y'all, I'm 31. So it was to that dire of an extent for me that I was like, I need to see if this is going to help. It doesn't cure. Let me say that right away. Having a hysterectomy doesn't cure endometriosis, but it can help if you're losing a lot of blood and it's really heavy. I was extremely anemic and iron deficient. I would have to get infusions frequently because I had a really hard time absorbing it through my stomach, because I have it in my bowel as well. So let's just say it's not a fun game. It's not a fun thing. And for me, I think the most difficult through it all is just trying to, one, figure out what is this? And then second, how can I cope with it? And then third, not feeling the shame or the guilt, of being like, oh, I can't do this again, or I can't do that. I have to cancel this trip or that trip or these important dates, because I couldn't control it. There was nothing that I could really do. So today, 2019, I feel like I have just accepted where I am in the journey. I think of the past 3 years, we moved to a different state, and really had to kind of hone in between my husband and I on us. And I had to also get really clear and deal with a lot of the emotional baggage that comes with dealing with something like this on a everyday basis. And I have, like I said, I think I have finally come to a plateau of just being okay with taking every day as it is, every moment, listening to my body. I have become it's kind of weird and eerie how well attuned to my body I am. Yeah. So I think, if anyone else is experiencing anything like that, and I know there are tons of women that deal with this and other even more drastic situations, I understand totally. I've been there. I'm still there.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit more about how you found the things that have worked for you, and a little bit more about these strategies that you have developed over time to cope with it, to manage it and overcome. I know every day is a different day, right? But
yeah,
how do you overcome? How do you get through those difficult days?
Honestly, just to be real, for the first, I don't want to say first 6 years, I wasn't like, I think I was just I was just dragging along for the first 6 years. I kind of was just like, you know, this is what it is. And I was dealing with depression and things like that. And I still have those bouts. I can't say it goes away because it's a fight. It literally is a literal fight. But I think that one of the biggest things that have helped me over the past 3 years the most is community. Finding someone and a group of people that kind of know your words, like they know your feelings. They know, you can say something like, I have a friend who is a dear friend. She's an aromatherapist, but she's a friend of mine. And she has a group where she's working with other women dealing with different things. And I just love that I can go in that group and say something like, have you ever felt nauseous to your toes? And they'll know exactly what I mean, because they know how you can feel nauseous in your toes because they've experienced that. You know, I can't explain that to anyone else. And they feel like, oh, I'm so sorry. I feel you. Here are some things that have helped me. Community has been one of the biggest things for me in my journey, just being able to vocalize what I'm feeling, getting some ideas of some things to help me cope with it, actually to deal with it. So definitely if you are like, we tend to isolate ourselves when we're dealing with this kind of stuff. And I think it goes back to that shame in our head, some kind of shame we have with this. I don't know where the psychology is with that, but I think once we can get past the feeling shameful or afraid of what other people are going to think and reach out, it's like a healing process. It truly is healing to be among other women who have felt and are dealing with some of the similar things you're dealing with. So that's number one for me, is community. Number two is, like I said, I have had to learn what works for me. I've had to become very confident despite what other people are telling me that I'm feeling about what's going on, and being not afraid to step away. So I have had to, like, I guess you can say I've had to develop some chutzpah, some grit, to be like, you know, able to vocalize what I'm feeling to the doctors when I go to the emergency room. I also I've had to shift my mindset on how other people approach this idea of chronic illness. If you don't have a chronic illness, you can't really understand it. Like, you know, you can't really understand it that way. You know, it's not a cold. It's not, you know, a headache that's just going to go away. It's something that you deal with every day. And so for me, I've had to change that understanding that people who don't have it, it's not their fault that they don't have it. And it's not their fault that they don't understand, but it is my job to try to communicate it the best way I can. And the best way I know to do that is to be open and honest about what I'm feeling, about what's going on with me, and owning it. You know, it's no reason to be shameful about it because you didn't choose it. I don't want it. I don't think so. I think just being confident and knowing how you feel, being aware of your body. And number 3 is rest. Rest is hard though. Like, I'm not going to lie, like rest is hard. If you're in pain, for me, night times are really hard for me because I feel like my body, it's trying to relax and it's trying to release, you know, it's trying to heal itself. I mean, when you sleep, your body is going through a healing process. But if you're still in a lot of pain, it's hard for your body to sleep through that. So I have found that I have to find my pockets. I have to find times that I'm like, I have to be willing to say, no, I can't do something because I need to rest. I need to, if I'm feeling it, I'm like, my husband works from home. He just started working from home. He's like, I didn't realize how many naps during the day you take. I'm like, yeah, because if I don't take the naps, I'm useless. I can't do anything. So I feel like even if you are dealing with something that prevents you from resting, I think of all the things that you have to do, that is the number one thing you need to figure out how to manage is rest, and do it, because I literally cannot function without rest. It's an ugly sight to function without sleep. So I think those are the 3 things that have helped me. The things that have helped me to rest, I guess you should say, are deep breathing exercises have really helped. Stretching, essential oils. For me, I found essential oils in the last 3 years, and they have been, I know it's like woo-woo. I'm totally not the woo-woo kind of person. I'm really not. But essential oils, I don't know why. I wish I had known how powerful they were because they have,
What are your favorites?
Lavender, of course, frankincense, German chamomile is really nice, and geranium and clary sage. These are all things that actually really help with endometriosis specifically. They help with pain relief and inflammation and things like that for me. But they just really help me. There's no words. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, that can't work, but I'm like, they do. I don't know how to explain to you, but they do. So, I use them like topically, and I diffuse them. So they really help me with pain management and also sleeping, resting, definitely, and stress, like, keeping yourself calm and collected. It really helps me in those things. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Oils are definitely useful. They help me through my relapse as well. Right. So you gave us some of your tips on how to overcome. I guess if you have any other types of advice that you would give to somebody who's going through similar symptoms, a similar experience, they're struggling, what type of advice would you want to give them?
Oh man, that's a big question. I guess I think honestly, I think for me, just because it's just made such a difference in my life, it's just having a group of people around you that you just know will support and take care of you and love on you and, be very positive with you. I think that also goes to your health team, like the people that are helping you. So like if you are working with doctors, I think it still is one of those really difficult things to do. I mean, there are some things that you do have to physically, outside of the, holistic view of taking care of yourself. You have to go to the doctor, and some doctors don't necessarily believe in holistic kind of care, like organic care or even essential oils and stuff like that. My suggestion, and I guess advice, would be to find someone who does, because if you're fighting all the time saying, well, this works and that doesn't work, and you need to find someone that kind of aligns with how your body works. And I think I guess that's my advice. My advice is if you're going through this and what helps your body, be an advocate for yourself. Be an advocate. Don't back down. Don't be afraid to tell your doctor, no, that doesn't work, or no, I'm not comfortable with that, or no, I would like to try this. I think a lot of the things that I have done and I have tried have been, honestly, a lot of it has been me doing the force. Like, even if I find, a doctor that's willing to work with me, and that I feel comfortable with, I do a lot of my own research. I do a lot of my own, I am my advocate, my family's my advocate, but I have to be comfortable too with what's going on. And I think that's the most important part, because we don't really have power over what's actually happening to us, but we do have power of what we allow to happen to us. And so that means you have to educate yourself. That means you have to be willing to say no to some doctors. And yeah, it might cost some money. And trust me, I know, because it's not cheap. But it's better for you to say no than for you to try to work through something that's just ultimately not going to work for you.
Definitely. We have to be our own advocates.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else will do it better.
Right? I agree. All right. Well, thank you so much. Please tell us how we can get in touch with you if we have any questions, if we want to learn more about you, the work that you're doing. Please,
okay. Yeah. So I'm on everything pretty much on Facebook and Instagram, Crafted to Thrive. I have a podcast myself called She's Crafted to Thrive, where I talk to women about the different struggles that they do just in life, whether wherever they are, but mostly creative entrepreneurs who are creating and making things with their own hands. And that's kind of my clientele, our clients who are in the creative space and happen to be dealing with um, chronic illness and things like that, because I think we run our businesses a little bit differently than someone who doesn't have a chronic illness. And I think it takes a little bit of a different mindset. And so if you want to just find out what that like what that means, what that looks like, working with a coach that kind of takes a different approach, I'm your girl. And like I said, I'd love to share or give any advice if you just have questions about like how my endometriosis story is affecting me now, like even more so, and things like that, or fibro. I didn't even really talk about my fibromyalgia because it's just kind of all wrapped up in one, and they all kind of affect each other. So, I'm there. So,
All right. Thank you so much. So Crafted to Thrive.
Crafted to Thrive. Yeah, I'm on IG, Facebook. My website is Crafted to Thrive, and actually on LinkedIn, I'm not Crafted to Thrive, but I don't do much there. So just find me on Instagram or Facebook.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Nikita. I really appreciate your time today and hearing your story. And I just feel so inspired today by the work that you're doing as well.
Thank you so much, April. This was fun. I haven't done a show like this in a while, so it's fun to be on the other side of this.
Yeah, and our audience understands the journey. We're with you, and we're cheering you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.